Welcome to Catch Her Spark with Jen Maldonado. These are conversations with women who are building meaningful careers, stepping into leadership, and designing life on their own.
People. Oh my God. I have an amazing person coming with us today. She grew up on the Texas border, bilingual, brown and brilliant, another Latina. And for 12 years, she was the one prosecuting, building the case for the state of Texas in some of the most serious criminal trials you can imagine, right? Intoxication, manslaughter, kidnapping, sexual assault. She tried over 50 jury trials and she was good at it. Then something shifted. She looked across the aisle at the people she was persecuting and she saw something the system didn't want her to see. Immigrants with ice holes who could not get out of jail while fighting their case, families who didn't speak the language, people who were guilty of nothing except not knowing the rights. So she crossed the aisle, and in 2023, she walked away from everything she built and launched her own firm because she decided that justice looked different depending on which side of the table you're sitting at. She's a mom, she's a business owner. Her clients call her abogada and her friends call her Ty. So please let me welcome you, Tayrin Ty Cardenas. How are you today?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And Cardenas is my maiden name, and so my official name is that as Wittenstein. That's my husband's name, but I go by Cardenas because that's my real identity. Thank you
That's
for
what
having
people
me.
know you for. Thank you
Yeah.
for being with us out of your super busy schedule, girl, because I know you are killing it in Austin. I mean, you're doing amazing things for two counties at this point, but I don't want to tell the story. Tell us what you have been focusing in these past 3 years that is really moving your heart, your energy, and making you so excited about what you're doing.
Okay. Well, where do I start? So, like you said, I was a prosecutor for 12 years. I was a government worker. I had a very comfortable job. Towards the second part, I prosecuted in two counties. The second county, it was only misdemeanors, so it was very calm. I was one of the lead prosecutors there, and so I could, boss people around, and basically, I could decide to take what cases I wanted, and then just give something that I didn't want to someone else. So I had benefits. I had just, a lot of respect and a lot of trial opportunities, which is what really helps me now because even though I was on the other side, a trial is a trial. So, and a lot of it has to do with the confidence and the showmanship of the attorney. So I got to practice that and get really good at it as a prosecutor. But then I kept seeing, the same thing happening. There's a huge Hispanic population in Austin. And many of the Hispanic population are not US citizens. They go from anything from undocumented completely to a green card holder. And even a green card holder could lose everything and get deported because they arrest them on even a misdemeanor. And many of them don't speak English or their families don't speak English. So the person's in jail and I'm talking to the mom or the wife, and I saw so many people signing things that they shouldn't have been signing, especially because they didn't understand the language. Or even if they did understand the language, it wasn't explained to them the way that it needed to be explained, what was going on. I had as a defense attorney, I've had people that are felons that didn't even know what that meant, just because their prior attorney said, just sign here, you're going to get out of jail, just sign here. So, I saw that and it really, it got to me, and I thought, I'm a Spanish speaker. It's my first language. I have to do something with this. My whole goal when I went to when I went to law school, my whole goal when I went to law school at UT Law here in Austin was to become a criminal defense attorney. I had no interest in any other kind of law. I wanted to be, when I was little, I called it a detective lawyer. I don't know what that means, but for me, it was like what I do now, basically. So I always wanted to work in this field, and I wanted to be a defense attorney. When I graduated, I moved back to my hometown of Laredo, and I was offered a job immediately as a prosecutor there. And so it wasn't the side I was looking for, but it was a job, and it was in criminal, and I fell in love with it. I just, loved being on that side. I was learning so much. And after 3 years of being in Laredo, I moved to Austin, which is where I was for law school, where I wanted to get back to. And I started working as a prosecutor here, a misdemeanor prosecutor here. And I just, got to the point after 12 years of being a prosecutor where, if I wanted to go up the ranks, kind of, I had hit a ceiling being a prosecutor. If I wanted to go up the ranks, I was going to have to be more administrative. And I didn't want that. Like, I want to be in court. I want to be in the action. I don't want to be like managing employees. So my family was very helpful because they reminded me that I always wanted to do defense and why is this is the best time to do it. Go ahead and do it. And it was probably the scariest thing I've ever done in my life to just leave for no good reason because I loved working as a prosecutor. I loved the team. I loved the office. Like there was nothing bad about that. So it made the decision even harder. But basically I had to leave my, very good, six-figure salary, with benefits, with a lot of freedom because I was, one of the bosses, and so it was, and respect. And a it was a big deal. And I had just had a baby. And, I was married. My husband does have his own income, but, we went from double income to single income very quickly. I remember the first week after I quit, my husband and I quit the prosecutor's office. My husband and I went on a cruise to kind of celebrate the middle. And honestly, it was the most miserable cruise of my life because I cried the whole time. I thought I
Oh
had
my
made
God.
the biggest mistake. And I was just like, what am I doing? This is terrible. My poor husband had to have the worst cruise ever. And I just thought this was crazy. What am I doing? I don't even have one client. How am I going to make money? So, but eventually, I just started getting mentors mentors was my thing. I'm always about to this day. I started taking court appointed clients, which was a great way to start because I didn't need to market myself or anything. They just came to me. And also it came with there was a lot of people that were in the court appointed program that had a lot of defense experience that basically I learned from, and I got to ask questions too. So I was trained as a defense attorney there. And then, I started doing a lot of the programs that are out there, like how to manage a small law firm or SMB, which is all about growing your firms and doesn't have to be criminal, but growing your firm in a way that you are very successful, but you're also not burnt out. And so that was really important to me. So, basically slowly I went from January 2023, just doing it on my own from my home office, which was very weird after working for the government every day. And now I am, 3.5 years later, I've got 6.5 employees. I say a half because one's part-time for now. And we've got a beautiful office in downtown Austin. We've got a CFO, we've got the marketing all set up. We've got a whole team abroad in Colombia that handles the marketing. And I've got a business coach. Like I've just got it, all not figured out, but on my way there. So I'm really excited to be here. Right now, I'm the only attorney on the firm. I did have someone before, but now I'm on my own and I'm looking for someone now. But it's hard because they have to be Spanish speaking. 95% of my clientele is Spanish speaking. So to find a really good lawyer, compassionate, and also Spanish speaking, that's not easy. So that's where we are right now, and that brings me to today.
Awesome. I mean, you give us so many things to unpack, Ty, because these just go beyond the successful attorney. I see this as the women that took her dream as a child of being the detective attorney to give the voice to Hispanic community here in Austin, to
Mhm.
people that yes, maybe they did mistakes or things were happening, but you give them an option, a choice to find a solution to something that they were unaware, and you're bringing justice to the system. That is heavy, girl. That is heavy. And it just touches my heart.
It is heavy. I'm not gonna lie. Some days I'm like, why did I do this? I want to go be a prosecutor again. But then I remember, I love it. I love it and hate it at the same time because it is it's a lot of work, but it's also the subject matter is very heavy,
Yeah.
and so even on the defense side, you're dealing with families, you're dealing with people that, did things, made a huge mistake and are now going to have to go to prison, become sex offenders, and so it's a lot to deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I do love it. I have to remind myself every time I feel like I don't love it that no, I do love it. I do love it.
It's difficult. I mean, but just think about what the changes you are bringing to the system of justice, just giving them that voice as a start point, right? That's a start point. And I can imagine this is a extreme workload and heavy load for your mind. And we'll tap into that. But also I want to tap into who is Ty because I don't want to miss this. So, Ty, you come from this secure job and you take this leap of faith 3 years ago to create your own dream and help other people while doing it. How does that make you feel as an attorney, as a woman, as a Hispanic helping this community? Because I'm like super proud of you, right?
Thank you. And thank you for saying that because a lot of times I'm such a, perfectionist that I set a bar for myself. And once I reach it, I'm like, no, we can go higher and higher. So I was even telling my team a couple of weeks ago, we don't celebrate the wins enough because it's like, okay, that one's done. Next case, next case. And so I really, it's nice to be able to stop and be like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool what I've built. But yeah, it feels incredible to be able to do what I do, especially for the Hispanic community. I was an immigrant myself, and so I know what it is to be fearful of the system. I don't handle immigration cases. That's very frustrating to me. So criminal is my thing, but I work a lot with immigration attorneys because most of my clients are not citizens, and whatever happens in the criminal court affects the immigration court. So, but I just love to be able to give a voice for people that didn't have a voice before. And not only that, I explain to them everything, detail by detail of what's going on. I have a team that is in constant communication with them. That was very important to me to have a team. And and we treat them like, like kings and queens because why not? They're paying the same amount of money that anybody else is. And, I enjoy making people feel good. And so if in a horrible, catastrophic situation, I can give them a little bit of peace, that's what I do. And so that's one of the things I love. And I love doing it for my Hispanic community.
Yeah, yeah, I can't imagine that. I mean, it's a being proud, right, of what you have accomplished for them and how you have helped them. I mean,
Yeah.
think about how you're changing people's life, just by giving them an
Yeah.
opportunity and a choice, right? And I mean, I'm gonna ask you this because for you to take that leap of faith, Ty, and I know this by personal experience too, because I did that. I mean, leaving my engineer career to do what I do today. And I think that at some point it stopped being a career and it becomes a calling. Would you
Oh
say
yeah,
that
absolutely.
happens?
A
Yeah.
hundred percent. 100%. It's not it's not my job. This is what I was meant to do. Especially on the defense side, especially working with non-citizens, because I'm a fighter. Like I fight hard, and my 12 years experience as a prosecutor gave me all the confidence that I needed in the courtroom to fight. And it also gave me all of that inside knowledge from the other side, how a prosecutor thinks. So I know when to keep fighting, when to shut up, when to do this, when to do that. And I really use that for my cases. And so it it is something I sometimes I'm a little too fearless. I think I jump in like, oh, we're going to trial, and I've got all this evidence stacked against me. But that fearlessness, is what gets me good results, and fearlessness, but also extreme preparation. And so yeah, so this is what I do when I do have those days where I'm just burnt out and it's really hard. I have to tell myself, this is what I love to do. This is what I was meant to do, and I'm really good at it. And that's what I have to look at myself in the mirror and have my little speech ready.
Oh my God. Yes, I can imagine that. I mean, it's nerve-wracking, but to your point, it requires courage and boldness and to move forward. And with that being said, actually, let me ask you this. Because you're a mom, you're a business owner, you're crushing it, and you're lead attorney on major felonies, right? And you took your journey from having a safe job. A lot of women stayed in safe careers because leaving feels maybe irresponsible. And I do this, right? Because you and I know that's not true, but you left anyway. What would you say to the women listening right now who knows she needs to go but can't make herself move?
Well, the good thing that I had a lot of support from my family and a lot of push from my family. So that kind of helped me a lot. Um, what I can say is you can't, this is what I always tell people, is that you can't find new lands if you don't leave the shore. So what's the worst that can happen? You go back to your job, you go back to a similar job, you struggle for a little bit. And yeah, that's extremely scary. I'm not going to say it's not. But life is about being happy with what you do. And, I got to the point where it was just monotonous for me. It was just the every day, the same thing. I couldn't, go any higher in my position without losing what the core job that I wanted to do. But I, I tell people, also like, being courageous doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you can be terrified and be courageous. It just means that you do it anyway. And so, as long as you have a plan, before I left my prosecutor job for at least 6 months before that, while I was still working, I started preparing. I started reaching out to other defense attorneys, to other attorneys in Austin, just different kinds of attorneys, to make referrals and things like that. And I started taking this online boot camp, of how to manage a small law firm. And it is what prepared me to basically be ready when I got out. So I did a lot of after work on my next career so that I was prepared. So like that's the thing. If you're prepared, then I mean, it's scary. It's scary. It's super scary. But you got to do it. You got to do it because if you don't, you're just gonna be stuck where you are forever. And um I couldn't live like that. So it's what I did required a lot of courage, which meant that I was terrified. Like I said, on the cruise, I was terrified, but I did it anyway. And I knew that I was going to be okay because I was prepared for it.
I love it. Be prepared, have a plan, explore the battlefield, let's call it like this, that you're about
Yeah,
to
get to know the
embark
players.
on.
Hmm.
Yes, you need to be aware, and you're not going to have all the answers. You're not going to know all the time what to do, but you need at least a start point and a north. This is where I need to start. This is my
Hmm.
journey. So, yes.
Yeah.
And in that process, you were sharing with me one of the things that I love about what you have done. It's You understand the importance of being focused, start somewhere, and you use some strategies to make sure your business is successful. Can you share one or two tactics with the women in business that these will serve
Yeah.
them?
So one of the things that I learned from all the programs, the self-study programs that I did, and I wouldn't have known it otherwise if I wouldn't have done all the research I did and taken classes, is that I needed to, instead of just taking all the clients possible, I really needed to limit my field so that I could focus on being the best at that. So, although when I first started, I was just kind of taking any criminal case around Texas pretty much, because I needed the money. I really ended up, after the first year of really focusing on the two major counties in Texas, and sticking to those. And whenever I would get calls, or I still get calls from a neighboring county that I don't usually take cases in, we just refer them to someone else. And the reason I do that is because every county is extremely different. The procedures are different. Sometimes they have like like computer files. Sometimes everything is like super old school and it's, everything's on paper. The rules are different. Even though the laws are the same, the procedural rules are different everywhere. Plus, the prosecutors are different everywhere. And I wanted to develop a good relationship with the same prosecutors because that's where I wanted to, I didn't want to have a bunch of people everywhere. Plus, they're also like, some counties are harsher than others. And so I just really wanted to stay in my lane and make sure that I developed this, what I do into something really good. And so I focus on systems and employees. One of the things that I stress over a lot is my overhead. I do have multiple employees that I deal with, and people tell me all the time, like, why don't you just why don't you just get rid of some people and like just do it yourself, maybe with one assistant? And I say, because I wouldn't be where I am without them. I've gotten to the point where I do only the law. So I show up to court and I do all the strategizing and I do the big major talks with the clients. Everything else from filing motions to giving client updates to intro meetings, when we first get a client, closing meetings, when we close the case, every single thing, working with the private investigator, giving them evidence, all of this stuff is done by my team of paralegals. And I have one paralegal that does one county, Travis County, and then I have another paralegal that does Williamson County. And what we do is, I gave them instructions, but most of the stuff they already know what to do. If it's something new, I tell them, please file this motion, and they get it done. Obviously, I review everything before it gets filed. But it allows me to focus on my job. I don't have to be answering phones all day. I don't have to be doing, the busy work that is not fun. So it makes my life a lot easier because I stick to the things that I enjoy doing. And so having systems and having employees um, is definitely the way to go, and limiting your practice. Sometimes I get a phone call from someone that got in trouble at, the University of Texas for some reason, and it's like a school hearing, and it sounds good. I'm like, well, it's money. But then I have to remember, like, yeah, but then I have to learn that entire type of law that I've never done before and put everything else on hold when I already have my systems, my people that know exactly what to do. The other thing that I highly recommend is when I hire, I don't care if you have experience or not. I don't in the legal field. I just care if you're an A player, if you're, you want this, you like it, you like, customer service, you like being around people, and that you are passionate about helping people the way I am, and that you're just a very hard worker. So I've got people, most of my employees have never been in the legal field before. And I hire based on talent and, intelligence and grit. I don't hire based on a resume, and so that has allowed me to get some really good people that I trust very much with to handle my cases, to handle the cases the way I would do it or I would want to do it. And I don't have to worry about if my clients are taken care of or if, this is just a job for someone and they're worried about their, PTO days and they're worried about this. And that, like, I don't have to worry about that because I know that, yeah, sure, they all want that. But for them, it's a calling as well. It's an awesome thing to be here. It's not just, clock in, clock out, 9 to 5 job. They really, every single one of my employees takes it very personally. And I really enjoy treating them very well. I like paying them well. I like giving benefits. I like, we just did an employee appreciation week recently. And I'm very kind to them, because I want them to stay. And I don't want to have to train new people. I want them to stay. And if you love your job, then you're going to do a much better job at it. So that's very important to me. So like giving, the employees, happy employees make the best employees. And systems just makes everything so much easier and so much more streamlined and much less chaotic, even if I'm missing out on, a couple cases here and there. It really doesn't, it's not worth it in the end.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. You gave so many golden nuggets to any business
I'm a talker.
entrepreneur. Yes, I love it. I love it. I mean, from focus to hiring A players. I mean, the paper is one thing, but knowing who they are and how they operate is a completely different thing. To having systems in place. And I love the fact that you have so clear, this is my job, this is what I do. Everything else can be delegated because it
Mhm.
protects your time, your energy, and you can do a much better job by just focusing on what you're good at it. So
Yeah.
I love that. Love
And I can
that.
take more clients. I can take more
Yes.
clients because I'm just focusing on the law. It's just kind of like when you go to a doctor and like the nurse does a lot of the prep work and a lot of the, and the doctor just comes in and is like, "Duh, duh, duh, duh," and so like does the surgery, and like that's what I do. I think of my job, my position as like a brain surgeon, and it's like I'm the one that comes in at the end and kind of ties it all up together. All the loose
Yeah.
ends, all the small things are handled already for me by very competent, trustworthy people so that when I get there, I'm ready to go. I'm suited up and I'm ready to do some legal brain surgery.
I love it. I love it. That's a great way to put it. Now, like a lot of women like you, busy professionals, entrepreneurs, they are so tied in their time because there's so much to do. And I think you say yourself the mental load is crushing times. You're a mom, a business owner, a lead attorney. And I'm going to ask this question. What does your Sunday night look like, really?
Here's the deal. These programs that I was taught with, the how to manage a small law firm, SMB, they really taught me to, like I said, to not to work to make money, be successful, but also be a happy attorney. Be a happy, and have time. And, that means having time off and taking time off. So my first year was rough. I would work on the weekends. I would work at night. My husband would get really annoyed because I would say in the middle of Saturday, I've got to go to the jail. And he's like, can't you do that during the week? And I'm like, I don't know. I just want to do it now, And so it was like that. So very slowly, I had to make boundaries for myself. And
Yeah.
to this day, I have very strong boundaries for myself. I do not work over the weekend at all, Saturday or Sunday, unless, and this is the minority of the time, I have something really big to prepare for the next day. But it's very, and that would be just like Sunday night, but I try not to do that. When I get home, I'm done. I am absolutely done. I get in my PJs, I get in my mom mode, in my me mode, um, and my wife mode, and I'm done being, this attorney that just like handles all this crisis at work. And so I do a lot, I take a lot of time off. Not a lot of time off, but I take periodic time off because I need it. And I noticed that planning like little mini vacations or even staycations every like 2 months is what my body needs to kind of regroup. And so I take really good care of myself. You know, I'm a mom and I'm a business owner and I'm a wife, but I can't be good at any of those things if I don't, work on myself too. So I have to be a little selfish and, take time for myself and do things for myself so that it's just like being on the airplane when they say, you got to put the mask on yourself first and then on the kid. I really try to focus on that a lot. So because it is really heavy. So I have to put boundaries, and that having employees allows me to do that. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. I love the fact that you take time to rest, to separate yourself. I think a lot of people forget that you cannot be selfless without being selfish because
You
you
have to
need
be
both.
selfish.
Correct.
Hmm.
You need both. You need
Hmm.
both. Now, I have this question for you because I think that for a lot of busy for professionals and especially attorneys or women who own their practice, they're incredible. They work incredible hard, and every dollar is tied up to every hour, right? Every case, every court appearance, and at some point, usually quietly, usually between cases, I always laugh because I have a few friends who are attorneys. The questions start forming. Not how do I make more, but how do I make sure this doesn't all depend on me showing up tomorrow? How do I
Hmm.
build something that works even when I am not in the courtroom, right? And I'm curious, has that conversation started for you yet? Because a lot of the women at your level start to look beyond the billable hours, what I call, right? The real estate investments, the assets that grow quietly in the background while you sleep and keep doing the work you love. So, what are your thoughts on that? Where are you in that thinking?
So one of the big things about criminal law is that I work on a flat fee. I don't work on billable hours. I don't like, so I'm not there just trying to like fill time with work. And so some cases, need about 18 hours of work. Some cases need like, you know, a whole month of work, when you compress it together. Um, and also, what I do is I prepare every case for trial, like it's going to trial. I think about it for trial, and I charge the fee based on like if this goes to trial, this is what I think it would be worth. Most cases don't go to trial. 99% of cases don't go to trial. So I think I don't charge extra for trial ever because I think that I'm already it's so rare that something ends up in trial that it's worth it for me, and I feel more ethical for that. I think, even though some attorneys do, and it's legal to do that. But the flat fee is what is the way to go, absolutely for me, because I don't have to worry about who's doing what when. It's like just get it done,
Mhm.
and that's what I do and have payment plans. So I don't have to work more to make more money. I already know that's what I'm going to make no matter if I work 10 minutes or if I work 10 hours. So yeah, I can move on to something else instead of just wasting time trying to bill somebody more and more money.
Mhm. Yeah,
Hmm.
I love it. I love it. And I think that I I love the fact when women says, okay, this is I know what I can do with this specific thing and create that pattern, that expectations of how much income is going to be generated. You have that fix. And I know you and I have talked about other stuff too a little bit. So, but thank you for sharing that. I think that a lot of women sometimes struggle figuring out how do I set a proper compensation for me. And I love that. So,
To bill, like for me, one of the hardest part of my jobs is the sales. Like I'm good at selling the case, but then when it comes to, and how much is all this going to cost me? I mean, I can have like a number in my head and I'm like, I'm gonna say this number, I'm gonna say this number, I'm gonna say this number, and then like half comes out of my mouth. You know, and so
just want
that's
to
really
help.
tough. And yeah, so little
Yeah.
by little, I've been trying to raise my fees to make it more because we're worth it, you know? And not just me, myself, but my firm, we're worth it to pay that a little bit extra to get excellent work.
Yeah.
And so that's been difficult, is charging people. Some people don't mind it. For me, that's been very hard. But you can fee structure the way you want, you know, like there's no, I mean, there are rules, but there's nothing that says you have to do billable hours. You have to do this. Like flat fees are just the way it works for me. It works great. Most criminal defense attorneys do it on a flat fee. And then like for extras, you know, if this case needs, you know, if you need like you've got a DWI and you need an occupational driver's license because your driver's license got suspended, we charge for that. You know, or
Mhm.
if you need, you know, private investigator on it, we charge for that. You know, and so but for our work in the firm, it's a flat fee. You're never going to get charged more for our work specifically.
Yes, that's amazing. I mean, you have
Yeah.
shared so much about your business and strategies and who you are, Ty. Thank you so much. I have two more questions, and I'm sad because we're getting to the end. But the first one, so I know for your hardworking moments, right? But what are some of the fun facts or quirks about you that most people don't know?
Fun facts of quirks. Okay, well, I think that I am obsessed with reality TV. That's a big one
Really?
for me. I don't like going home and watching serious stuff or movies. I mean, I do a little bit, but I wind down by watching the messy, especially the love ones. I don't know why, the relationship ones. Those are the ones that just get me, you know. And my husband says, like, how can you do something so intelligent during the day and you're just sitting here watching like these people fight? And I'm like, because this is great. I don't have to think. It's just like very entertaining. I'm getting the drama and I don't have to think. And it's just I don't want to have to think. I don't want to go home and watch some intense, you know, drama. He always wants to do shows together, and I'm like, oh, that sounds like I have to think too much. I already think enough at work. So I do that, and I let's see. Yeah, I mean, I spend a lot of time with my kid. You know, I feel like I'm living a little bit of a second childhood with her, and so I give myself a lot of grace. I don't try to be someone who I'm not. You know, at first, when I first started being an attorney, I was like, well, I can't wear that because they're not going to take me seriously. And now it's like, okay, if I want to have a hot pink bag, I will because I know who I am and that's what makes me happy. And, you know, I get things done. So whether it's a hot pink bag or just a plain black one, it doesn't matter. So I am very much myself, and working on the confidence. The confidence is goes a long way for being a lawyer, for being a business owner, for being a mom, like the whole, and the mom part is the one that I have the least confidence in. But you know, it, you just have to be yourself, you know. If you like doing silly things, do the silly things. Who cares? That's who you are,
That's
and you don't
you.
want to lose that. Yeah, you know. And
I
I
love
have no
it.
shame telling people I'm gonna go home and watch the Summer House reunion tonight. I'm so excited. I am so pumped. This is like my Super Bowl, which was what happened last night. I was super into it. I was cheering. I was yelling at the TV.
Yes.
So, and then I'm like, I'm good for the next day to start dealing with other real problems.
Yes, I love it. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, Ty, if people want to get hold of you or your firm, what is the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, so basically, first of all, please follow me on social media. We have a great social media team that puts some really interesting stuff on there. On Facebook, I am Abogada Tayrin, at Abogada Tayrin. And then on Instagram and TikTok, we are at Cardenas Wit Law. And we can put those, I don't know, on this podcast somewhere so that
Yes.
they can find it. And then we are also on our website at cardenaswitlaw.com. And our phone number, which is a 24-hour number because the rest don't happen just in the middle of the workday. They happen in the middle of the night many times. So we have a completely free consultation. Most of the time it's going to be with me unless I'm just crazy busy. But it's going to be with me for free. And I'm going to basically tell you, this is what your case is about. A lot of people don't even know what they're being charged with. This is what you're being charged with. This is how big of a deal it is. This is how I would handle it. And this is how I want it to end up. And so I give them the whole plan. And so my phone number is 512-484-9389. And my firm name, I wanted to explain it. So Cárdenas Whitlock. Cárdenas is my maiden name, and I now have it as my middle name. And my legal last name is Wittenstein, which is my husband. But I thought, how am I going to get Hispanic clients with a gringo last name? Like, I just can't do it. Can't do it. So when I was looking for a name for my firm, I said I have to have Cárdenas in there, and then I just shortened it to Wit, so that's why it's Cárdenas Wit Law, and it's worked, and yeah. So please follow me on my social media. We also do a bunch of giveaways, which I love doing. I really like marketing and that kind of fun stuff, and so I love being creative. We have even like a loteria, criminal justice loteria, that game that we're making. And so we have loteria cards coming out. We've got games. We've got a lot of fun things on our social media and fun things to come. So please follow me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tayrin or Ty, for being with us today. What a treat for all of us. I know the audience enjoy it. And yeah, for sure. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This is really fun to talk about, and I love being able to give advice or be some sort of a mentor to someone else, because I've had so many mentors and still do, and I couldn't have done it without them. So I really get something out of this for myself as well.
You've been listening to Catch Her Spark with Jen Maldonado, where bold women lead the way. Ready to share your spark? Apply to be a guest at catchherspark.com/guest.